Today on Driving While Gaining, talking to you about soreness. Getting sore, is that a measurement of a good workout? Let's get in it.
I'll tell you one thing and one thing only. You best be making some gains. You best be making some gains when you walk, when you talk, when you sleep, and when you creep. Let's make some gains right now while we're driving.
Soreness is a very interesting topic. It's generally looked at, especially with the popularity of CrossFit and these high-intensity training, soreness is looked at as the measurement, the pillar of whether or not you had a good workout. If you didn't get sore, I didn't work hard. Let's talk about what soreness actually is. Soreness is actually micro trauma. It's micro trauma. It's trauma for the body. It's injury. So you're tearing the muscle down, you're breaking it up, you're actually tearing and ripping apart the myofibrils, and that's causing inflammation, which is a soreness. And your body tells you it's sore so you don't keep exercising it, so it can relay the fibers and repair. And that's why things like yoga and stretching and massage help, because it helps relay the fibers, unroll and unravel ones that get stuck from the shortening and the contraction cycles, and helps, pump and, filter, kind of, encourage movement and dissolution, if that's a proper word, and diffusion of nutrients through the muscle cells and the cell membranes and the muscle tissue. Like a sponge, you're wringing out a sponge, you're kind of getting stuff through it. Soreness is not a good measurement of whether or not you had a good workout. You don't have to be killer sore to have known you broke down the muscle to see results to get bigger. You don't have to be sore. It's normal and common to be sore. It's even common to be sore and not feel it too much the next day and feel it like 24 to 48 hours after. It's called delayed onset muscle soreness. And there's a lot of conflicting exercise science behind this. People don't really get why you're sore or why that soreness exists. It's micro trauma. It could be because of the imbalance of nutrients and micronutrients that result from, working out and getting depleted. And this neural fatigue. There's also neural, because when you feel pain, when you feel sore, it's a neural response. It's your body telling you, ouch, this hurts, ouch, this is bad. And that being the case, you have this neural feedback that can get damaged, can relay pain and soreness. So you have this micro trauma, you have this imbalance, lack of nutrients. This is why you have to hydrate properly and make sure you're getting the proper things after your training. But that effect doesn't necessarily mean that you had a bad workout or a good one. So being crippling sore, if you're overloading the muscle progressively, a lot of times you get sore because the muscle does something it's never done before. But progressive overload doesn't necessarily mean that you're just destroying the muscle fibers. You're always breaking them down, but they're being stimulated and using weights and manners and resistance and quantities and volumes with different rest periods and different energy replenished cycles and different glycogen, volumes. And these kind of like reactions and these kind of adaptations are reactions from the body. The body's reacting in order to rebuild. It's protecting itself. It's a defensive mechanism. Getting bigger is not aggressive or offensive. Building muscle is actually a defense mechanism so the body can protect itself against these weights you're throwing at it. So you lift weights, your body's like, oh shit, that was crazy. And then as you do it more often, your body's like, well, this really sucks every time we go. I need to build the muscle bigger because then I can handle this stress, because this is fucking ridiculous. This guy's nuts. He's lifting these heavy weights all the time. I'm going to either rip something or I got get bigger and handle it. So it's an adaptation. You move down to Florida, where I live, in Miami. You live up north your whole life, and all of a sudden you come down here and it's hot as shit. And then you live down here for 10, 12 years, and it's still hot as shit, but you get used to that hot as shit. You get used to it. Then you go back up north for vacation. It's almost like, oh my God, I'm freezing. Down here, I get freezing. Like down here, everyone's wearing sweatshirts. It's like 65 degrees. And you go up north at 65 degrees, especially after the winter, it's 40 degrees and people are wearing shorts. So your blood thins, your body changes, and you adapt to your surroundings, you adapt to your environment. So there's that chameleon effect, and your body does that to build muscle. Soreness doesn't necessarily mean, I just want to tell you, it's a neurological effect. There's some inflammation, of course, in the tissue, but just because you did a workout and let's say you did not get sore, it doesn't mean you didn't overload the muscle. It doesn't mean you didn't break it down. It doesn't mean you're not going to respond and grow. You can monitor this also by your strength, by your mass. You can do measurements. There are other ways to measure muscle mass, and understand you're not going to feel sore every time necessarily. Because you didn't feel sore doesn't mean, oh, I didn't work out hard enough. If you leave with constant trauma, with constant micro tears and constant excess overload where you can't walk, where you're injured, oh, I can't move my arm, I can't do anything. First off, it affects form on different exercises because subsequent workouts can be affected by the tightness and the inflammation. And also, it creates an environment where it's very easy to overtrain. It's very easy to overdo it. It's very easy to crash and create this cycle of kind of a negative response where your body can't handle that type of stimuli repetitively over time, and you get this overtraining syndrome where you start feeling loss of appetite, depression, fatigue, lack of motivation to go to the gym, elevated heart rate at rest, blah blah blah. There's a ton of symptoms or signs of overtraining, of physiological and physical training. So understand that the body needs rest, the body needs to recover, and soreness does not mean good, and it doesn't mean bad either. But understand that being crippling sore, being really sore all the time, some body parts I trained, I'm likely to get sore. Other ones, they're a little bit rare to get sore, but if I'm a little more dehydrated, I could be more sore after. If I didn't stretch as much, or I did a different movement, I could be more sore, or I could be less sore. If I didn't do a lot of volume, I could have done different stuff, and wow, I hit the muscle in different ways, but I didn't do a ton of sets because I have a lot of time, and then I didn't get sore. But it doesn't mean it's not effective, doesn't mean it's not working. Stick to your program and push it. And you know your body best. Some people know if they get a certain amount of sore, like that's like how their body reacts, and that's how they can progress. But I'm just saying you have to learn your body. Self-awareness. I always say this, self-awareness. You have to be self-aware. You have to know your body. You have to learn it. You have to study it like a fucking test. Study it. You're born with this body, and I say instincts are not instinctual. Common sense is not common. You don't know your body unless you study it. You think you just know, like, oh, my body says this, and how do you know? When you're training, when you start exercising, all of a sudden it's a whole new environment. It's a whole new environment. Your body is in a whole new situation, and you have to see how it reacts. You won't know unless you try it. If you love getting crippled sore and you see great results and you feel fine, who knows? Maybe that's great for you. I just want to tell you that just because you're not sore doesn't mean you didn't get a great workout. And if you're crippling sore, doesn't mean it's bad, but you should be aware that being traumatically sore all the time could have long-term effects. Got it? Good. See you next time on driving while getting ridiculously fucking sore. I might change it to driving while just getting stupid large, because driving while gaining, I don't think sums it up. We'll see you next time. It's getting serious, man. Talking about soreness. Soreness is... I don't know, man. I used to train, I remember this one workout I did. I did walking lunges across a field house with a friend of mine. Barbell lunges, walking lunges, 95 pounds, rubber plates. And I would walk as far as I can, lunge and back. We used to do this. We would lunge back and forth. It's long. It's like a soccer field inside. Lunge back and forth as many times as you can, usually a length, maybe 2, and then stop, or, it got really short after a while. And it was like one of those Civil War movies where, like, the flag bearer falls, someone else picks it up. I would drop the weight, barely could stand. He would pick it up and keep lunging. We kept going, and I remember lying on the ground afterwards. I couldn't bend my knees. My quads were so pumped, like I couldn't even see my knees. It was just swollen and just like inflamed and just pumped with fluid. And we were laying there, and we both laid there in a puddle of our own sweat for like 40 minutes before we even left. And I remember being sore to the touch. I think that was the most sore I've ever been. I remember being sore to the touch for 9 days. I can just push in and feel like deep muscle soreness. Now, how good is that? I mean, I was so fucked up for 9 days, and it's been shown that it's better building muscle to work your muscles out more frequently. It's better. I would rather be less sore and work them out every 4 or 5 days than be super sore and work them out every 7 or 9 days. That's like you're doing like your muscles. You're doing like 40 or 40% more legs more often in a month if you do it on a 4 or 5 day cycle rather than a 7 or 9 day cycle. So being crippled sore, I mean, who wants to be crippled sore? It affects barbell rows, it affects anything else. It's just not fun anymore. When you're young, it's like, it's fun, you're playing around, you're experimenting. But as I get older, I start to look more towards the future, more towards longevity. I want to do this till I'm 80, 90, 100 years old. I want to do this forever. I don't want to be one of those guys with a bad back because he fucking wanted to squat 500 pounds. Being crippled sore does not mean success. So be smart. Be smart.